made a joke and I gave him a headache. That's all right. That's the effect I typically
That,
have.
yeah, that seems fair. That seems like logical. Hmm.
Man,
All right. I
Okay,
guess
so we start the
voice.
recording. So we are ready to start. I don't know if I should wait for Rody, but um, do I
well,
wait for Rody or
no, we can
he
start
went to take his medicine? Okay. So, ooh, hello again, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I have had one on my own. So today's is a dreamy day. Ha, pun intended. Uh, since today we're gonna be talking about dreams. I know I'm learning from Nancy. What can I say? Don't blame the game. Blame the player, not the game.
Don't
How
blame
it
the
is.
game. That's not how you say
So
that.
blame me then, blame me. The point is that today we're going to be talking about dreams, and I actually had a very interesting dream today. I just don't know if I should discuss about my dream, but dreams, not what you aspire to achieve in life, but those that happen whenever you're sleeping. What this tells about your psyche, what this kind of maybe tells about your philosophy in life, and whether or not it could be something that you can learn from so you can like act differently based on whatever your day is going through. So as always, I will have to do a clarification, guys. If you want to participate, you want to follow the rule, the order, please type the exclamation mark so we have the order for you. Everybody's willing to participate. I always encourage, don't feel shy because I talk too much. I will abstain to do so. Interviewing in your conversation is Jusha and Orlando's thing. It's not mine. I don't talk in other people's turn, you know. So the floor is yours for whoever wants to start the conversation.
Before before we hand it off officially, I would like to add one thing on top of what you just said.
Okay.
It's also feel free to bring in any physical aspects of it because, as I mentioned, I don't know about it much, but from the research that I've done in the past couple of days about the topic, I know a lot of our lucid or nighttime dreaming is affected by our physical environment. So feel free to open up to that. We're not limited to just the mental or the abstract aspect of it. Because if you sleep under a tree at night, 99% of the time, or many of the people that reported to these studies, they reported having like extremely bad and gruesome dreams as compared to people who sleep under a tree during the day. So, and as we know from science, during the day, trees emit or put out oxygen, and at night, trees emit carbon dioxide. So you might want to keep that in mind, and we'll definitely like to open up to it more.
Yes, and for those who may have a noisy background, try to mute yourself until you're gonna speak, please. So yes, does anybody want to start the conversation?
Orlando, it was your topic.
Oh, it wasn't my
I
topic.
Orlando, I listened to the dream that you recounted at last week's meeting.
Oh yeah, your very common dream where somebody's looking at you with
Oh,
fire
that
in
one
the
dream.
face.
That dream was
You
creepy,
see?
huh?
Ha-
Um,
It's
I mean, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to dreams. I mean, why not? Let me just start with like the most basic, like psychology, I guess, theory on dreams. By Sigmund Freud, Interpretation of Dreams. It's a good read. But basically, what Sigmund kind of believed is that the primary thing for dreams was to keep you asleep. Like that was really the whole purpose of a dream. And also within these dreams, basically, there's some kind of sensor in your mind that's supposed to kind of keep away certain thoughts that might wake you up or that might, essentially surprise you to the point that you wake up. And the sensor was supposed to hide certain symbols, but because it's censoring certain thoughts, your subconscious mind sort of kind of tries to surpass that by using symbolism and by using different kinds of thoughts. And so basically what you thought about dreams is that they were telling you something that you felt subconsciously, or certain urges, and that they can reveal certain desires or certain fulfillments that you might have. Some of them weren't on the nicer side. Some of them might be like, fatal thoughts of, killing people, or certain urges like sexually related and things like that, of that nature. In his book, he recounted ideas of this person who was really religious, and he was essentially against sexual relations, and he had this weird urge to dream about a lady with no face and a cross on her neck, and that he would be aroused by the thought of her, in a sense. And sort of the way Sigmund Freud interpreted this was that he had a certain idea of sexual feelings that he was holding back, and that his dream essentially inadvertently was kind of trying to reveal that to him. And yeah, that's kind of how he thought of it, just for a brief thing.
So, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the idea here that Freud really kind of put forth is that dreams are very meaningful. Like, so they mean something, which is something we could discuss. Are dreams actually meaningful, or are they just random nonsense? I mean, that's something we can consider. There's a whole history of dreams being sometimes prophetic. But what Freud did is that he kind of used dreams as a means to diagnose maladies, symptoms, which again, yeah, he rooted more in childhood. What he calls the libido, libidinal energies, and how that charges dreams, stuff like that. But having said that, I mean, what is y'all's take? Do you think dreams are actually like reliable sources of self-awareness? Or do you think that dreams are, again, they're just like random synapses firing nocturnally while you're resting, and they don't really mean anything? They're just kind of random images? Or is it somewhere in between? Maybe some dreams are meaningful and others aren't. What do y'all's thought?
To answer that and what Orlando just mentioned, I would think it is the next level of being self-aware, because if you look at animals and humans out in the wild, and by humans in the wild, I mean persons who are displaced or homeless, they sleep with this kind of sense where even the drop of a pin wakes them up or makes them startled. But if you look at someone who already has certain amenities at their disposal, like a full stomach, a warm bed, and temperature control and everything, they sleep rather comfortably, and it takes some effort to wake them up, including myself and my brother, definitely.
Yes, and adding up before I let the floor to Rody, I do like what Elise said in a sense, because she said that every time she has a dream and that she remembers, she Google what it means. So if yes, that's what. Sorry. So for me, it is interesting because, for me, dreams are very personal. But the fact that we're looking for somebody else to maybe have the translation of your own dream is kind of like, are we really connected to our dreams? Our thought process is really that similar to that level that we can like share like what's some like your perception of maybe how Orlando was mentioning that a lady with a cross maybe is like some repressed sexual feelings, and maybe for somebody else is something different. But that's interesting. But Rody, go up, please.
So my response to the level of, I guess you can say, depth with dreams is that in some cases, dreams could be a way on how to process memories that are either repressed, or there's some amnesia-like situation. And in others, it could just be a way on being able to process different levels of consciousness. So I remember actually, let me see. I remember doing a discussion for my psychology class on this particular topic on dreams and levels of consciousness. Let me see where it is. Let me see. And I remember going to, I think it was a sleep specialist that was studying how dreams are processed in the neuronal level. And it talks about one is more on the biological side and the other is more of the social aspect side. And let me see. Let me see.
Okay. Well, while you continue that, it doesn't happen to you that sometimes you have a dream and you wake up and you go sleep again and you continue the same dream? Or is that just me? I mean, it happened to me quite a lot. So sometimes, like, it really like a dream, I just go sleep back and the story continues. But I have to be mindful of it because then I started sleeping like a lot.
Do you
Um,
control that?
I mean, it happens to me if I have a dream and I really like the dream and I go back to sleep like right away, like a couple of minutes after that, I continue the same dream.
Huh.
But I have also this comment from Jennifer. She said, "I've had dreams about things before they happen. Like a dream a girl died in a specific place at a rave in Houston, and then I found out that a girl died in that specific place at the rave in Houston. That happened to her in a bit." Uh, okay, but in the meantime, since Rody is not finding the information, Jusha, you're next.
Thank you. And I would just like to come back to a point that was made by Miyanka, if I'm not pronouncing that wrong, about having a dream and going back and Googling it. That actually in I'm Muslim, right? So in my religion, there are actually spiritual classes, or not classes per se, but spiritual teachings about interpretation of dreams. It takes into account what time you had the dream, were you full, did you have something to eat, what did you have to eat, and it takes into consideration a lot of things. And then usually they come out with an answer, because as I mentioned in the meeting before this one, when we were deciding on the topic, I don't dream much. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's neural activity happening because that's just how it is. But one of the few dreams that I do remember is about leaving my house and finding all these snakes outside my house, different colors, different sizes, and everything was weird about it. So when I went to one of our religious experts on the topic, he got back to me in maybe like 4 or 5 days. He had to refer back to his teacher, and it was a big mess, especially with that dream, and that's why I remember it. And then he came back and he told me that snakes represent a two-faced person, as is mentioned in the Bible, where the devil got into the heaven in the shape of a snake, and it's the same pattern throughout major religions. So that's what they told me. I'm not certain I believe it, or maybe I don't want to believe it, but he said that snake represents a two-faced person, and the colors of the snake represent their toxicity towards you. So that was another thing I was considering, that if finding meanings behind certain types of dreams is a common trait, and if that's the case, then how authentic might the readings be?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious to know more about it. Once again, I do apologize. I do not contribute much philosophically to the topic because I myself don't know much of it.
I
And
would think
I'm
that's
more
very philosophical. Yes, but no, honestly, like philosophy, that's a wonder. Like pretty much anything can be, as long as you put some thoughts in it. But yeah, it does make me also think that okay, let's say your culture has that perception of the snake, but another culture has a different perception of the snake. So the same dream could mean something different based on your own culture. So how truthful, like that's why I'm so kind of like I guess it's part of our nature to find like I'm sorry. I think it's part of our nature to try to look into meaning to everything. So maybe that's why we try to. But it's that's why I keep thinking, at least in my opinion, that dreams are quite personal, and you are able to understand better about yourself, but maybe not like through others' eyes. Maybe some other people can have some opinion, but I guess you can completely understand your dream on your own. But Nancy, you're next.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think that's an awesome point, Fernando. This idea that perhaps there's something intrinsic to the kind of thing we are that makes us want to find meaning in all aspects of our lives, including dreams. But that doesn't necessarily, make dreams inherently meaningful. But yeah, I wanted to say this just real quick. And you were getting after it there, Fernando. This idea of the standard by which you interpret dreams. Now, okay, there's a difference to be made between, the biology of sleeping and why that's necessary for regenerative purposes for physically, physiologically, and then of course there have been psychological studies that prove that even mentally you need sleep. So there's that aspect of things, and when you kind of go in heavy on the biology side of it, it becomes very, without getting into crazy detail, it becomes very tempting to conclude that dreaming itself is necessary, but the dreams themselves are meaningless. Not necessarily meaningless in the sense that they don't make any sense, although sometimes dreams don't make any sense. But oftentimes they do seem to make sense, at least in retrospect, i.e. waking up. But also to consider that, again, going back to this whole Freud aspect that Orlando brought up initially, dreams are considered to be messages that you're sending yourself because something's wrong. Again, as I said, he considered them symptoms. And so to analyze a dream is to deter, it's for medicinal, therapeutic purposes. So that heavily implies that the dreams themselves are teeming with meaning, as opposed to merely just like this sort of the byproduct of just sleep. Rather, it's almost like the point of sleeping is to dream. And dream certain dreams that it is kind of our obligation to decode for our own betterment, for our own flourishing. So, I mean, those are kind of two sides of the same coin. I don't think you necessarily have to choose one or the other. But I mean, if you wanted to go down a line of thoughts or maybe sort of discuss certain parts of what dreams are, we could speak more biologically, physiologically, or we could speak more along the lines of, again, what major dream interpretational philosophical theories are over this stuff. So again, somebody like Jacques Lacan, who argues that the unconscious is structured like a language, which is to say that your dreams, there's a method of sorts to interpret everybody's dreams. Now, again, Fernando, when you said, different cultures, they attach different meanings to similar images. Indeed, it could be that part of determining your particular dreams, interpreting them quote unquote accurately, has to do with understanding what certain images mean to you in particular. And sometimes that gets influenced through culture, through religion, through media, through personal experiences. And that's kind of what an analyst does, a therapist does, one who interprets dreams. They figure out who you are to better understand the dream that you're having as it pertains to you specifically. But that's assuming dreams mean anything.
But I do have a question, but this is not for Nancy. This is based on a comment that Loleta said. I'm just intrigued. She mentioned that she has dreams at night and she won't eat past 6, so she doesn't have anything heavy on her stomach. I would like to understand better the connection. I don't know if you have the mic, but if you do, that would be nice so we can hear you. If not, could you please expand more on it, on the text? So what you're saying is maybe you have dreams every time that you eat past 6, so you don't eat, so you don't have dreams, or it's like the dreams have so much of an impact on you physically that you avoid eating because you may, I don't know, throw up. I'm just very intrigued of what the response could be. Rody, you're next.
All right. Okay, so my medicine kicked in, so I can actually engage in the conversation. First off, Professor Manzi, you look awesome with your haircut. I mean, you look awesome anyways, but you look awesome in your haircut.
Thank you. I
Don't
appreciate
tell
the plug.
him that. Oh my God.
Can we not encourage
It's
him,
gonna get
please?
into his head. It's gonna get into his head. I'm telling you. Ugh.
Rory,
We're,
would you like to be president of Philosophy Club?
can we not encourage this behavior, please?
Uh, so, one, going back to your question, Ferdinando, before I go on, there has been theories that if you eat too late, that a lot of the times, especially a heavy meal, that sometimes it can cause nightmares or very graphic dreams. And so some people will not eat past a certain time because it just helps them not have such vivid or nightmarish dreams. And I think that's where Loletta is getting at, dealing with sleep and eating. And one theory behind that is that because your body is breaking down complex micromolecules in
Proteins.
food, that your body is trying to deal with all of the different chemical reactions, and that's sort of the theory behind that. But what I was going to say is that anytime when you're dealing with the nervous system, just like anything else in the body, there's always going to be the Tom and the Jerry, if you get my reference, the cat and the mouse going around and around and around. It's sort of like if you think of oh, I don't remember how you pronounce it, but it's GESTALT, Gestalt psychology, where um the sum is greater than its parts and separate. So
Okay.
since we're socially complex beings, that our dreams are going to be complex rather than just breaking down the biological and the psychological components. So I feel like even though it is important to take separation of 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 classical thoughts between the biology and the psychology or philosophical, that I think it's important to say that that by having the duality of both the hard science and the social science, that it creates a better picture of how we are as humans. And I mean, that's how we get fictional writing and or non-fictional writing, is based on these experiences that people have throughout time.
Yes. And
Good point.
solid.
And I
Very
kind of want to
solid.
just go off of that real quick, and kind of what Manzi said. Just to kind of follow up with what Manzi said a little bit. I thought there was something interesting with kind of the Freudian kind of concept where of free association, where basically instead of consciously thinking of things, you're essentially just letting thoughts free flow through you. And if you really think about what a dream could be, essentially it kind of is just that. But for the most part, psychology has kind of abandoned that whole idea of meaning, of having meaning in a dream. It's more of just it's a compilation of thoughts that are kind of within your head. If you really think about what's happening when you're sleeping, your body's essentially paralyzed. But your brain still has heavy activity within the cortex. So what people believe is it's sort of like it's actually a reaction to that, rather, the dreams that you're having. But something that with all seems like all fields of psychology believe is that they can still have some sort of, I guess, not necessarily life changing, but kind of perception changing effect on you as a person. I recount seeing people talking about their dreams about where they killed someone. And so within that, you're going through within your mind, within your dream, you're going through an experience where you killed someone. You have that sort of, not necessarily the exact drama, but the trauma in it of itself exists within your head. So it's like all these events that have never have happened, never could happen, maybe even to you, can happen within your dreams. And that's kind of what Rory was saying, and the idea of basically like, you know, you create like art, you create music, you create certain things, and not necessarily that it's all in relation to your dreams, but all within the concept of, or a construct of your head whenever you're in the state of, I guess you could say, free association, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and something that I want to add, and that in a sense, everybody, all of you have kind of like talk on it a little bit, is the physical part of it. Um, and I do I guess I have to talk on two things in here. One is Yusha mentioned it, like how your environment affects your dreams, because most of the time, whenever I'm dreaming, there is some component that is happening around me that is being added in my dreams. I just realize it after I wake up, because it's kind of like, okay, there was somebody talking, so maybe I'm dreaming of a girl, not because of something, but because there was a girl talking in the background. So it's kind of like I just use that element to in the dream. But the other one that I'm thinking is like, what is it a person more propense to have dreams or nightmares? Because, for example, myself, I have maybe just one nightmare in my life, but I have people who have nightmares like every day. So what is really the component in deciding like these, I guess, chances? Like, I don't know what the difference is, or what they can tell for psyche in anything. Um, that I do see also, Gloria is posting this question here. She says, what about when you experience deja vu? Do you think that there is a connection with what we dream? Or is there a possibility we did already live the moment in a previous lifetime? I don't know if this sounds crazy, but it crosses my mind at all time. I sometimes have deja vu of something that I dream. So like I sometimes I dream something, and then there is a situation in my life that happens that remind me of the dream. So it's like, oh, deja vu. But it's kind of like happened somehow with my dream, but I don't know if it is the same. Um, let me see. And okay, we have also Jennifer here saying that she's curious about the prophetic dreams, like dreaming something before it happens. Um, I don't know if somebody has some thoughts on it. And there is a lot to be. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I just noticed, Marcus, you're next. Sorry, I was going in at the questions. There are many questions here, but you have something to say already. So
You're
I will
fine.
read it, and then
I
I
wanted
read that
to,
one.
okay. I wanted to talk about we talked about the purpose of dreams or something, and it got me thinking of another way to think of it. Okay, because was it someone was talking? I think it was Orlando was saying that you know, you do things in this dream that you would never do in real life. Okay, you have these experiences that traditionally, you know, you wouldn't have, and a lot of time, you know, they're really strange and out of this world or whatever. What if like half the purpose of dreams is to encounter things in a dream that you most likely won't encounter in your life, to, in a sense, almost prepare you subconsciously? Because then like you know those dreams where you start fighting someone and then suddenly you're like a kick-ass karate guy. You're like, all right, next time I'm in a fight, what's up? I'm gonna pull a karate kid up in you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but you know, think about it like this. You know, you have an experience where you're walking down a hallway and it doesn't feel right or whatever, and you hear like a sound at the end of the hallway or whatever, and then suddenly there's a guy chasing you or whatever, and then it happens again in real life where you hear a sound but you're not sure if someone's there, and say someone is really there. That's a really specific example, but little things like that are like, or going on a date in a dream. You know, and you're on a date with this cute girl in a dream, and which you've never been on a date before, except but now you get to experience it in a dream. So now when you wake up, you go, oh shit, like, oh, that's a dream, and oh, I should have done it like this. I could have been like this. Like
Does that mean
dreams
that that girl
allow
is interested in me?
dreams
Oh,
allow
that's a
for
good.
another
That's a good
layer
point.
of self-reflection in the human experience other than our regular experiences. There's another. It's a mini self-reflection. At least that's how I see it. Because you know, you have a dream, you wake up and you try to remember it, and you reflect on it, and then et cetera, et cetera. If that makes any
That's
sense.
that's a good point, because a lot of people say about nightmares that it's kind of a response for you when you're going through the really stressful things. Like it kind of scares you out of reality. So when you wake up, you're not so scared of your reality. I thought that was kind of
Oh,
an interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. But I have
And
one question for
oh,
Jennifer. Sorry, before. What
yeah.
is it? twin flame. I don't know that term. What is a twin flame? And we have not talked about death experiences, sleep paralysis, Rody, just so you know. Okay, so I think next one was Mansi. Yeah. Man.
Fantastic. Now, I mean, I kind of wanted to go down a similar path here. Again, I'm trying to sort of throw stuff out here that might lend credence to the idea that dreams are significant, which is to say, the first four letters of significant are sign. They're signs of something. Similar to kind of what Marcus was getting at. Again, there's one theory that I think is really fascinating that I wanted to run by y'all, and I kind of referenced it earlier. It's this idea that maybe what I refer to as the unconscious has a particular structure. So when I say unconscious, I think everybody more or less gets the gist of it. I don't mean anything particularly technical. Just, when you dream, when you're sleeping, that's your unconscious. That's typically what people refer to as the state in which your dreams manifest. But what of this idea that dreams are structured like a language? So, I mean, I would say the biggest proponent for, again, interpreting dreams in a way where dreams are like seriously meaningful and almost call out for their interpretation is this guy, Jacques Lacan. He believed that your dreams communicate to you via metaphor and via what's called metonymy, which is it's a term in like poetics, we'll just say. Metonymy means something like you refer to a car as wheels. Nice wheels. You're not complimenting the wheels, you mean the whole car. But wheels is like a part of the car that references the whole thing. That's how metonymy works. And we know how metaphor works. So this idea is that your dreams are always metaphors, but what's even deeper is that they're metaphors of metaphors. So it really takes a great degree of sort of self-awareness to be able to interpret the dreams, not just for the sake of, hey, now I know what my dreams mean. But again, this is the key. Your dreams are your unconscious sending you signals of how you're suffering, specifically mentally and emotionally. This is the other side to the more physical stuff. But the idea is that you're not just having random dreams. Even when you free associate, like Orlando was saying, it's not arbitrary associations. This is the whole idea, is that you could dream anything. Why are you dreaming this? There must be some meaning behind it. And to go back to the more instinctual stuff, it's like you're trying to tell yourself that you need to heal based upon a prior traumatic experience that you're not ready to face yet. So your unconscious gives it to you in images, it gives it to you in metaphors, it gives it to you in different ways to kind of ease you in to the trauma that you have to address if you want to become a whole person. That's the gist of it. I want to throw that out there. Yeah.
Like that's the funny part though, because like I think Jacques Lacan and both Freud, they kind of look at it as, in order to interpret dreams, you kind of need practice. You need to like actually pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to the symbols within your dreams. But then Freud himself says this. He's like, well, sometimes a cigar can be just a cigar. Yeah. So it's like it's sort of an endless path that you'd be walking on to try to interpret dreams. Like, what is it that can be literal, and what is it that can be sort of arbitrary or rather symbolic?
Well, what's cool is that Freud also says, and you're spot on. I mean, that's what makes him so frustrating. But he'll say something like, if you were to keep a dream journal, and every time you dream, as soon as you wake up, you describe it because that's when it's at its most lucid, no pun intended. You will notice patterns. There will be patterns to the dream. Now, look, I've never had a lucid dream like y'all have had, but I certainly have this weird phenomenon where I'll have dreams where I'll know the landscape, I'll know the environment, but I've never actually been there and it's not a real place. But I'll have dreams like years apart. Well, in my dream, I'm like, I know which roads lead to where. I think that's really interesting. I don't know what to think of it.
That's really interesting. One thing, first, Marcus, you have an absolute baby face. Two, those who notice, you're gonna laugh about it.
I did not notice. Oh my god.
The beard's gone.
Yeah, that's what I was
Beard's
looking
gone.
at. I was shocked about it. And another thing I've noticed in in my own scarce dreams that I've had and through other people, that none of them, like, it's common through a lot of them that usually if the dream is situated in indoors locations, there's no windows. And one thing that was common through all of the people that I interviewed was there's no clocks or nothing to tell you time in your dreams. So even if you have a phone in your dream, you won't be able to see the time on it. If you're wearing a watch, you won't be able to see the time on it. And that was one thing I found really interesting back in, I think, high school. I was interviewing a couple of people about their dreams for a psych project.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned houses and kind of structures, because another like kind of symbol between that is that houses or like structures can represent people, and like smoothed out houses can be like female, and then kind of rough patched houses supposed to be male. It's kind of something that they've figured, but I don't know. I don't know how far you can take that.
Okay, but before we continue, I wanted to say something, but I will abstain because we have more people wanting to participate, and this one hasn't speak today. Rebecca, you're next.
Hi. So yeah, what you should, I'm sorry if I butchered
You're
that.
fine.
Uh, you said that like you have you know, like rare occurrences of dreams, and that reminds me of like my friend, because he also says that since he doesn't like believe in dreams, he finds that he doesn't have many dreams. So I feel like it's also kind of like your thought process and like, yeah. And I feel like there's also like two types of dreams. Like one that's based on what your subconscious is like naturally, like since you're while you're dreaming or like sleeping, your subconscious is always like working. And your subconscious, like when you're like awake, it's like processing everything. So it notices things that you otherwise consciously wouldn't pick up. So like yeah.
Yeah,
And then
that's
there's
really
like
interesting.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. I like it does remind me, and I think this also connects a little bit what Orlando was saying. Yeah, yeah. Granted, maybe not every dream and maybe not everything in your dream have a meaning, but I mean, maybe there is like the important things, the important element that make you feel something has some meaning, and the rest that is just a cigar. It's just a something that you're adding in it just because to make the whole dream a little bit more nicer and believable for your mind or something. It could be one way to think about it. Maybe both happen at the same time. Rody, you're next.
So I have something I've always wanted to ask, and I mean, we have a philosopher who has.
Is it
Is it
is
just
it me? Is it okay? Okay, it's not me.
no? It's not.
All right.
Oh my
Okay, I'm back. So I have a question for Professor Manzi, and then it could be brought up to the group. Professor Manzi, what do you think is the social implications of dream? Meaning, like for example, there a lot of religions are based on dreams, and so and coming from studying philosophy, where do you think, because we've talked a lot about the biological and the psychological and the emotional, but how about in society? How do dreams influence society as a philosopher?
I mean, yeah, that's a great question. I would say this at the very least. It depends on how you evaluate the whole practice of dream interpretation. Now, your question is more, I think, culturally based, which is to say that, like, there's a function that dreams seem to serve, especially way back in the day, where there was something almost prophetic or sacred about them. And so you were encouraged to pay attention to your dreams. And, in the Bible, there's the dream, 7 skinny cows, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, that's a beautiful dog. I just had to lock mine in the closet because he wouldn't shut up. But yeah, so I mean, the social value or function of it is an interesting question to ask, because it's kind of a litmus test for how maybe a particular society or particular culture just values, as you referred to earlier, how they value maybe something like the soft sciences, or I don't like the term soft science, how they value the social sciences. So things like, specifically, again, in this case, psychology, psychoanalysis, more specifically. But to the other side of things, dreams are, now they're considered, again, more of the domain of the hard science. So again, they're more physiologically based. They're more based in themes like, again, mechanisms that occur within the body that give rise to this. So I would say this: depending on how a particular society or culture or area or period of time, depending on how they assess dreams, and not just assess in terms of how to understand them, but in terms of, you know, whether or not they should be valued, I think that is very telling for the society as a whole in terms of what it takes knowledge to be, or truth to be, or what humans are. I mean, that's the other side of it, is that, you know, when you go back into these religions and you see the role that dreams play, I mean, more often than not, it has to do with communicating with a deity. And so if you deify humanity, yeah, that really calls into question the function of dreams on more of a broad scale. But I think the greater question is, what do dreams mean to you individually? And, you know, it's okay if at a certain time in your life, maybe you were paying attention to your dreams and other times you're not. Like that could change. But I do wonder, I mean, here and now, 21st century, Dallacites, I mean, do you pay any attention to your dreams? Do you care about them at all? I see that a lot of people do, but it's like, how do they function in your life? You know?
For me, not to go into specifics, but for me, there was a time period to where I had to, because I had to go through trauma therapy. And so one of the things that we had to do is that I had to go through clinical hypnosis, which is going into a lower level of the subconscious, and bringing back dreams that I would push to the side because it was so traumatic. But then when I was in therapy, going through those dreams helped me process memories that I was literally locking in a closet. Wow. So it for me in particular, it really just it's sort of like there are different growth phases in my life, that there are some particular dreams that are more important, or not exactly more important, but have more precedence, or more, there's more of an urgency to try to understand it because it influences how my mental health is. And then there are others that are sort of more of the whimsical or more of the creative, that sort of give me a break from dealing with the for me.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Brody.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. My internet's being stupid. But just to wrap that up, I mean, for me, it's just phases.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's a really insightful perspective, especially on dreams. I mean, well, okay, so let me throw this out there, and I want to hear from as many people as possible. And nobody has to go into detail, but have you ever made a life decision, a waking life decision, based on a dream you've had?
Or have you repeat the question, please?
Like
Can you repeat the question again?
Have you ever had a dream and it impacted a decision you made in real life? Like maybe you broke up with somebody, or like, I don't know, decided to purchase a plane ticket or something because of a dream? Has anybody, because this is Rory's question, ultimately, it's like, how do your dreams impact you in everyday life? Have they ever had
I think something interesting, just like two quick little things. I mean, I also like, I mean, obviously in art and music, like they're inspired by their dreams, but in fields of science, Dmitri Mendeleev, who made the periodic table, said that he actually saw it in his dream and he immediately wrote it down afterwards. And also Neil Bohr, who essentially established the atomic model, also had a very similar idea. So basically, it's not only prevalent like in art and culture, also you see, I guess, in science, where ideas and dreams can actually become something in reality. That's interesting. Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
I'll just quickly come back to a couple of things. One, no, I've never, nor will I ever make a decision based on a dream I've had. Two, Rory, that's really interesting about, and thank you for sharing your experience, because that brought into light something very controversial, because I've had couple people, or not, I'm not going to say personal experience because I've never had that, but a lot of people report seeing their deceased family members, and I'm quote unquote reaching out to them or trying to communicate with them in forms of dreams. So is our dreaming truly dependent on, or is it derived from our physical state? And that being said, no, I'm just going to do a quick, guys, I know you guys don't, not all of us have the ability to talk, but can someone go ahead and read the comments?
Yeah, I can do it. I was reading
Thank you.
it. But
Yeah,
before
because
I
there's some
read
really
it,
interesting points in there. That's what I was looking at.
yes, but before I do that, I cannot completely tell if I have or not make a decision on the dream. What I can know is that some dreams have had so impacted me emotionally that could have inspired me to do something like different. I guess like if a dream was like like if it was a very good dream, I just kind of like wake up like very like daring and maybe try to do something that normally wouldn't be my beginning of the day. But I wouldn't take like a major important decision just based on a dream. I just kind of like change like my that first moment of my life, I guess. But okay, there is this comment. It is an interesting one. She says that she doesn't believe Jennifer in coincidence. That okay, I'm just gonna read that if I'm Jennifer without the girly voice. I'm gonna say I don't know. I just think it's weird that I dream with my twin flame, which I still don't know what a twin flame is, was chasing me through a swamp. And then a few weeks later, he's on a swamp tour with alligators. But I did just watch a TED talk on psychotic breaks versus seeing healing. In the US, we label you with a psychological disorder and medicate you, but in other cultures, you're partnered with someone who has been through the same sort of experiences and mentored as your consciousness is expanded. These people end up being the shamans of their community. And then she ended up saying that we have dreams to thank for Twilight. Just saying, if Twilight is the movie, I somebody should have never dreamed of that movie.
Yeah, that's a
It's
nice.
Well said. Well
not bad.
said.
It's all right, guys. Relax. But I kind of want to say something like I've had a similar experience where one day I was dreaming that I was panicking and that I woke up and I mean, in my dream, my car didn't want to start. And then literally that same morning I woke up, my car didn't start. And that's something that was kind of similar, obviously not to the scale that she was saying. I mean, I do believe there's some kind of mysticism or some kind of, something metaphysical that can be happening, but
Well,
how
if
we
I
can
could
really
offer,
talk about it, I don't
if
know.
I could offer an interpretation of your dream, Orlando. So
Huh?
the Freudian interpretation would be that on some level of your unconscious, you knew that your car was having problems, and so you went to sleep with anxiety, but it wasn't anxiety you were aware of, and so it was almost like you had reason to suspect that that would happen, and then when it happened, you're like, oh, it's because of the dream, but really no, you knew that was probably going to happen just on a subconscious level. That would be
That's
the
sort of
Freudian.
that was sort of my explanation for it as well.
Yeah.
But to the extent that kind of Jennifer took it and saying that she had a dream about someone chasing her through a swamp and then them being in a swamp, I think that's a little bit more difficult to explain.
Yeah, for sure.
But can someone please explain me what a twin flame
Unless
is?
I have no
I think
idea.
she means
So
a twin, like her twin.
a Google
Oh,
twin flame, but
oh,
okay, but what if I'm already a twin? Because I'm a twin.
No, Nursing
So
one's
now I
there.
know. In Greek mythology, there's this idea that we were supposedly like built as a whole, like two heads and multiple arms and bodies,
Oh,
and that
the
we were
hairstyle.
split in half by Zeus as a punishment because he was scared we were going to be too powerful. I remember now. That's interesting.
I think I've
Um,
heard that, but okay. So it's kind of like your other soul, but it's like in a romantically setting, or just like as a personality. It could be like a friend or anything. It can be maybe an animal. I don't know. Like I think it's very abstract. Maybe my twin flame is just like a turtle, and I've never met this turtle in my life. So in my life, it will never be completed until I meet this turtle. I don't know. It's just very curious about that. But I know Rody wants to speak, so Rody, you're next.
R- Real quick, um, um, one of the things that Jennifer, let me see, that Jennifer is bringing up is definitely the importance of psychological anthropology, which is the study of how of the psyche throughout cultures. And the reason why that field is so important is that it helps us to understand what truly is cultural versus what truly is a potential mental illness. And being that we're in a Western society, Western society in general, minus pagan Wiccans and people that are of indigenous culture, having prophetic dreams is considered to have relations to mental illness. On the other hand, in cultures that have indigenous background or pagans or Wiccans, it is seen that it is seen that that there are individuals that do have the ability to do things that are outside of the realm of what humans normally experience. So it's important to take into consideration on how culture is evaluated throughout the world, and psychological anthropology really help format the construction of diagnosis of mental illness, being that we have to take in consideration of where that individual patient is coming from geographically.
Interesting.
Great
Good
point.
stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna read a couple of the comments because the comments of today are on point. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Jennifer, for all these also text. I'm gonna read Susan. She said, "I can say that emotionally, yes, a dream has influenced a decision I've made. Usually, a dream disturbs or brings clarity in some way. I do not have an exact understanding of what I think is a causal connection between any dream state, psychological, mental, the emotions experienced in a dream and the emotions I have upon waking, and any decisions made it what I think may be some kind of causal chain."
Huh.
It's a very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. The emotional component, that's an interesting. By the way, that's
Yeah.
Professor Morello. She teaches philosophy at Cedar Valley.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice,
Thanks for
nice.
joining us. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so okay. But well, since some people are starting to leave and we are actually already like on 4:30, we have a couple of announcements. Today there are no election of a topic because we already have one topic decided, which is next meeting we're gonna be partnering with the Student Green Team and talking about the environment, more specifically about the conscience environment. Is that correct? Am I saying in my English is failing me or not? Okay, so conscious environment. So they will talk a little bit more about it, and then we're gonna do our thing of philosophizing, whatever,
Philosophize.
philosophizing,
Deep.
philosophizing, mentioning the word. So yeah, it's gonna be a partner event. So feel free to come here with all your wonderful thoughts, and it's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk more, and it's gonna be a collaborative event again.
And
Yeah,
week after that too, we're also doing something. We're not going to be voting for that topic either. It's we've decided to do determinism because we're going to be having our special film series on the 28th, if I am not mistaken. Basically, the Wednesday before Halloween.
the
Yes, it's
28th.
28th,
Yeah,
and we're going to be watching Hereditary. And so the topic on Tuesday will be about determinism. You know, basically how much of your life is predetermined, is your entire like personality predetermined, your whole life, so on and so forth.
Hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
good stuff. And well, just keep in mind that we are going to be also having the international film
International
series.
film series.
Yeah, so we have already one movie projected that is Write Down I'm an Arab, which is also a collaborative event that we're doing. I just forgot how the organization is called, but we're gonna be watching two movies quite like one week after the other. And then we're going to be discussing a little bit about it, and we're going to be talking about the philosophy of each movie and how they can like maybe we can learn something about it during the movie. So it's going to be a exciting week, well, exciting 2 weeks. It's going to be so much fun because we also, but I mean, if you want to attend, I can like facilitate the link for you. But we are also being partnered with the Student Government Association to talk about ethics in campaigning. Since it's the election time, I mean, go vote if you can. We're gonna be talking about ethics in campaigning. So they invited us to do that, so we're gonna be attending that town hall meeting. Also next Tuesday. So next Tuesday we have two collaborative events. Fun. So yeah.
If I'm not
Again, thank you.
mistaken, is early voting today?
Is
Yes,
is today or was it tomorrow? So yeah,
it's
it's
Today.
today.
appropriate. If
So if you guys
you
can go
can
vote,
vote, go
yeah.
vote.
Louisa, you're on
Yeah.
mute, Miss Fenton. Okay.
Yeah. Also,
Have, Mhm.
well, just so people know, with the international film series, it's so the films we watch are obviously international, so they're all in a foreign language with captions. So just so you
Thank
know
you for
that going,
joining.
yeah. So to make sure that was clear.
And one more thing, the movies that are and will be picked, they're all on Canopy because we as an organization have to follow some rules and regulations, and it's not our preferred method to consume that sort of knowledge, but it's what is applied to us. So we're restricted to Canopy.
It's not bad. You should
It's
relax.
not bad.
Yes.
It's actually
It's
it
like,
has
oh,
very
it's not
good
our
movies. It
preferred.
has very good movies.
Sure.
But the good thing is that it's free because you are a
Yeah.
Dallas College student. So imagine um, uh yeah, imagine Netflix but in different topics, more academic. But like very good content. It's just that I know none of those movies.
Oh,
Imagine
I mean,
Netflix
some of
that
them.
looks like a
they got
classroom.
Death Race on there. That's not academic. Relax.
It can be.
I mean,
I mean,
it
they're
can
they're
be.
all
I
fighting for
find
their
that very
survival.
academic.
It's extremely philosophical if you look at it. They they
All right, let's
they're
watch
willing to
Death
take
Race
another
for
person's
part of the
existence
film
away
series.
just to survive.
I like it. I like it.
The real reason is
Thank you.
I don't have a Netflix account. I don't want to pay for it, so we're using Canopy. That's the real
All
reason.
right.
Thank you so much of you guys who have joined us today and contributed to the meeting. Our meeting is over, but you're more than welcome to stay if you would like. We're just going to touch up on today's topic in more detail, and those of us who have any lingering thoughts that we weren't able to express during the meeting. So it's still being recorded. Just if you want to stick around, stick around. If you cannot, we all four of us and the group thanks to you for being here, and we really appreciate your support and input.
Yeah, well said. Check us out on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Just search Dallas College Philosophy Club, or maybe in YouTube, search Richland Philosophy Club. You'll find a bunch of our videos. And you can always come back to this Teams page and watch the recordings whenever you'd like. And for my students, that means extra credit. So yeah.
Yeah, but one thing also, since you mentioned all these recordings, we can also post them on YouTube.
Yes,
Oh, I didn't think we could.
we can.
We
because
can.
we can download and then just post it on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
So-
okay. We should have been doing that. In that
Just
case,
so you know, though, only for the Nando, only you can download them, or you could upload them here and someone else upload them. But for the most part,
Well,
only you can.
yeah, not just me, but just me if I was the one who download. So the
you
one who
recorded
the one who record is the one who can download. So that's how it works. So I
Yeah.
think mostly I have been the one recording, but there are some meetings that maybe was somebody else.
I haven't recorded any.
yeah, I think I've recorded.
But yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be posting them. So get ready.
Yes.
I wonder how
Okay.
many people here are like AFK.
AFK, I'm not completely sure, but I'm
Away
gonna
from
then stop this recording. Cut.
Yeah.